welcome to Think Fit, Be Fit podcast. My name is Jenn Schwartz. I'm the hostess and creator of this podcast where we believe that effective exercise comes from education and potent thinking about our bodies and our exercise. It is best described as the intersection between exercise mechanics, muscle expertise, and embracing curiosity. I've been a muscle activation techniques practitioner for over 10 years and have seen some miraculous changes in the human body, including dissolving chronic pain, helping people reach their goals despite old injuries that keep popping up, and even working with some incredible professional athletes. I am convinced that education is the foundation to this work. So that's why this podcast exists, to show you what's possible. So today's episode is kicking off an amazing month of podcast episodes centered on the core, I guess pun intended. And the core is something of a buzzword in the fitness and physical therapy worlds. My job is to help you think deeper about your exercise, and we cannot do that if we don't have a good definition of what the core is, what modalities promise to help you, and that's why we're starting with Pilates. Pilates is something that I've been using personally on my body as a student for about 2 years. So I brought on my teacher, who also works in my studio in Alexandria, Virginia. Her name is Tara Becker, and she's a true Pilates nerd. And I'm not saying that in a funny way. She literally wears a shirt that says this. Her certifications are Power Pilates Mat Certified, Power Pilates Comprehensive Certified on all apparatusi, I don't know. She has a 200-hour yoga certification, a 50-hour yoga training for restorative yoga, and she's done countless advanced training courses with the Fuse Ladder, many doctors and physical therapists, and neurological conditions, active aging. She's done courses in the nervous system and yoga and Pilates, and I really do treasure her expertise at my studio. I've seen the full body approach to Pilates work, which is what we're talking about. She began teaching in 2012, and she completed her comprehensive in 2016. She's an avid student of all things exercise in the nervous system, and I have a massive respect for her. And it also comes down to she's helped my golf game and she's helped my lifting with her Pilates expertise. So she has my love and respect for a long time, because that helps me enjoy so much of my recreation time. If you get nothing else from this episode, it has to be that Pilates is for the full body. Now, I'm sorry that most of us see it as dumbed down and full of ab exercises only. It's a true travesty to see it this way, and that it's only for advanced age or people with low back pain or just women only, because there's so much more to the modality, and that's how we start the conversation. I would also encourage you to check out one of the links. So 2 links attached to the show notes. One of them is just a list of quotes from Joseph Pilates. And it shows the depth of his vision. The other link that we have in the show notes is to a magazine article from the Wirecutter. It says a New York Times company about the history of Pilates, and it's titled How the 1918 Flu Epidemic Created One of Today's Biggest Fitness Crazes. Very curious. I'm excited to show you this new side and the embodiment that is Pilates. And without further ado, here is a short episode of myself and Tara Becker. You can find her on my website at impactyourfitness.com. Tara is available for Pilates and yoga virtually. She's also teaching a group class, not through my studio, through one of our friends, but we are having some great sessions online, and I have to say, I'm very surprised by how strong I feel from doing these sessions online. I was not expecting to get more out of virtual sessions than in person in a way. You can meet her and see her on Instagram at TaraRose224. You can find me on Instagram at impact_your_fitness. I so look forward to sharing this month of episodes and kicking it off with one of my favorite ways to get strong, Pilates. And more importantly, the bigger picture here is I'm so excited to help you develop a deeper conversation and a deeper connection with your exercise. Have a wonderful week. Okay, take 3. Yeah, I am so excited to share you, Tara Becker, with my audience. Tara has been my Pilates instructor for 2 years-ish, and I've learned a ton from her. We have a great collaboration and respect relationship. She works in my practice. She works on my clients. She works with me. Yeah, and I've already given you like the rundown on like where her certifications come from, but what we wanted to do today was to give you guys a new perspective on Pilates. That is, it is a full body and possibly a full body mind, modality, and that there are just some really, big and interesting things about Joseph Pilates himself, the creator of the Pilates methodology, or as I've learned recently, contrology, and a little bit about the history, a little bit about how people bias Pilates to just being dumbed down ab exercises and long legs and just good for low back pain all at the same time for some reason. And yeah, what else? I think that was kind of our short little episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been sharing this quote from Joseph Pilates that I just absolutely love. And I'm just going to repeat it to you really quick. And I will say this, I also included a list of his 30 quotes from him that will give you an insight into how this type of exercise is actually a full body approach. And that quote is, "Physical fitness can neither be achieved by wishful thinking nor outright purchase." Love, love, love that. So think fit, be fit means you have to think and learn about the what you're trying to do with your body instead of just buying into things and just believing that one thing is good for this and another thing is good for that. No, there's a whole spectrum of beautiful things that can happen with exercise, and especially with Pilates. Okay. Tara, uh, where did we start? Where do we need to start here? About a little bit about the history of Joseph Pilates and why it actually is full body and mind.
Yes, absolutely. And a discussion about the history of Joseph Pilates and his method. I think we need to respect the current situation that we're dealing with right now. This recording on Star Wars Day, May the 4th be with all of you. Sorry, I had to.
Of course.
Most of us in the US and in the world are still under this quarantine situation with this pandemic for COVID-19 that we're all grasping with right now. And Joseph Pilates created his method largely when he was interned on the Isle of Man as a German national who was working in England during World War I. And his creation of his method coincided not only with World War I, but also with the flu pandemic, what was known as the Spanish flu of 1918. And legend has it, I always say this, I wasn't there, I wasn't alive 100 years ago, so I can only go by, the things I've read and heard from those who actually did work with him, that, these men who worked with him, who did his method on the Isle of Man, none of them got sick with the flu, none of them died, when so many others in the country, in the world, did at that time. And mind you, there might be many reasons for that. It could have been that they were already pretty isolated, so there was no way for the flu to get to them. But as we know, physical activity does improve your immune system. I'm not going to guarantee that you won't get sick from COVID-19 if you practice Pilates. Don't misunderstand me. However, his method was meant to be not just the physical activity, but also, he called it contrology. And he said contrology is the complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. And I think the spirit part gets a little lost too, but I'll shelve that for a moment. That might be a little woo-woo for this conversation.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to keep it short because I know, obviously, you are a quote-unquote Pilates nerd, and that you could really talk about this stuff for a while. And reflecting on our conversations before this, I think I already have a follow-up episode in mind, which is, how to find a good instructor and teacher. So, because we're not saying all Pilates is amazing. We're just sharing this idea that it's not as automatic as you have to do a ton of abs if you're going to a Pilates class. So, and I love that that piece that you've shared with me about from the Contrology book, that he barely mentions the anatomy or not the anatomy of abdominals or the word abdominals in the entire text. He's talking about breath and control, and that's to me, like, I understand that now as a student of Pilates, having doing it for 2 years and having benefited from it greatly in my golf swing, my durability, my flexibility, my mobility, and just having like access to different, I don't know, parts of my body and having control. It's amazing. So, yeah. Anything to add to that?
Yes, absolutely. And, you're right that nowadays when we think of Pilates, a lot of us think, oh, Pilates gives you abs. And yes, Pilates is a great abdominal workout for the deep transverse abdominals to stabilize those muscles, but it is so much more than that. It's a workout for the whole body. And Joseph Pilates' goal was to have a uniformly developed body. It wasn't so that you could have jacked abs or jacked glutes or jacked shoulders. As much as, if those are your goals, awesome, go for them. But it was about having this whole system of your body working harmoniously together. And again, legend has it, I wasn't there. I sadly never got to work with the man. But apparently, if you dared ask him in his studio, what is this exercise for? I imagine he probably gave you a funny look first. But legend has it he would answer saying the body, this exercise is good for the body. He wouldn't single out a particular part of your body because you're a whole being, you're a whole person, and it was to benefit your entire body.
And so while we're speaking of legends, I think you wanted to bring up a very special person of the Pilates teaching world.
Yes, absolutely. So almost a week ago, last Tuesday, the Pilates world lost someone very, very special, Mari Windsor, who she trained with Joseph Pilates' student, Ramona Krzyzanowska. And she is largely credited with bringing Pilates as a practice to the general public, whereas before it was reserved mostly for, celebrities, elite athletes, dancers, etc., kind of more of an esoteric practice. So she brought it to the masses. And, I'm a bit of a Mari Windsor fangirl. I never got to meet her, sadly, but I bought her DVDs, almost 20 years ago. And that was largely what introduced me to the Pilates method. And, it's the true work that she taught. And she had a great way about her with bringing it to the public, and she was beloved, in Hollywood amongst celebrities, taught many celebrities. She was also a dancer before becoming a Pilates instructor. She danced in some Michael Jackson music videos. And, it's a great loss for the community, but also shows the reach that this method can have that's been around for over 100 years.
Yeah, well, thanks, for bringing that up, because we focus a lot on just getting what we need from exercise, right? And just like checking off the box. And so many things are lost when we treat it that way. And with something as lineaged as Pilates, I think it's really important to just say, this has been around for a long time, and, you guys study with great respect to those people. And that, I think that's why, it's got such a strong following. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And I think what does happen sometimes, you and I mentioned how there's this fallacy around Pilates as a method that people think is just for the abs, or it's just for back pain, it's just for the injured, it's just for the very old. And I think what happens sometimes is people do approach the method because they want to get ripped abs or they want to help their back pain. But something happens after a few sessions that you kind of discover the magic and the method and how it can help to create a healthy body, how it can improve your joint health overall through the whole body, how it can strengthen your body overall, how it helps you to stand taller, not because your abs are so strong that you're stiff in your trunk, but because you have this mobility in your whole body.
Yeah. I mean, being able to get up off the floor, yes, it's very important, but, doing something as looks like it's directly going to impact that, like sit-ups, this and that over and over again, doesn't necessarily help you get off the floor better. Right. And like, that's the kind of thought process I think most of us, not me and you, most people in general have about like exercise, that if you do this, you get that. And it's not like about healthy movement of the joints and lubrication and how your brain responds to different teaching cues and methods. And oh gosh. So speaking of, I'm glad you touched on that, that, I don't know, that one type of exercise doesn't help your back pain and this and that. Because it is, it's a full body thing, and that's what we keep coming back to. And so speaking of, I'm still doing my sessions with you, and I value them so much. I've been thinking about how much our clients and myself are getting from our virtual sessions without the different apparatus and all the cute, I don't know, props and whatnot. And you're able to like do all kinds of stuff virtually. Can you touch on that and maybe what you're learning about your clients in the virtual space of training them and teaching them?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. You know, a lot of times when we think about Pilates, we think about all this equipment that looks like it came from 50 Shades of Grey. You know, am I right?
That they all say, people say that, and I either laugh or roll my eyes or just, kind of get angry. But
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's interesting, and I keep returning to Joseph Pilates' book, especially right now, feeling like we're going through this parallel time of when he created his method, and it's called Return to Life Through Contrology, and it's not an easy read. Remember, English wasn't his first language, and that was a long time ago. He was German, and in his book, he lays out his 34 original mat exercises, and initially that was it. He taught you the mat exercises, and he realized through the years, though, that his mat exercises were really fucking hard. I assume it's okay for me to drop an F-bomb. And that's when he began to create his apparatus. The apparatus was intended to make it so you could accomplish the mat exercises more easily. The ultimate goal was to do the mat exercises. And yeah, they're really, really hard because the mat is just you versus gravity. And we all, none of us can cheat gravity. None of us can cheat the forces of gravity or forces of nature. So
well,
it really makes it stronger to do the mat work.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly. So I am really surprised by how people aren't like so excited to do a lot of virtual training in general, because what we're hearing across the industry is that only about 20% of our clients are like adapting to doing virtual coaching and training and sessions. But I'm seeing the same like congruent things. Like people are getting stronger because they are relying on their own body and just learning a whole new way to get stronger. And being able to, compartmentalize and focus in these crazy times is going to make you stronger in other ways too. Did we forget anything? Did you want to share another quote, or what else did I forget?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that I think having the virtual sessions is also forcing clients to take more ownership of their workouts and not rely on us so much to hold their hands in person and put our hands on them, which we literally cannot do right now. That they have to find the feelings in their own body internally. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I've seen it with so many of our clients that kind of a switch goes off in their heads. And it's like, oh, this is how this is supposed to feel.
Yeah. I mean, you saw me do it with the session I did with my sister-in-law.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, look at that. Like, and then ever since, like, my teaser just keeps improving. And that to me feels like miraculous, because I always just assumed my legs were like so dang heavy and like my proportions were just like anti-teaser, but you know what I mean? And like I already predetermined that outcome so many times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like the virtual session really was a catalyst for me, I have to say, even though that was like weeks ago. I guess the other thing, you just said something, even I talked to Ami about this very particular thing. Ami is one of our colleagues, and she's been really impressed by the autonomy that she's seeing in her clients, and is really excited to just continue a lot of her sessions virtually. And one of the theories we came up with that people they might be succeeding more because when you walk into the Pilates studio, they might just be that intimidated. And then when you're standing over them, they feel like very judged. Do you know what I mean? Like there's like a built-in fear factor from walking into a studio in a way.
Yeah, I agree.
At home.
And I also think that just changing the environment is helpful. As you know, I've done a lot of motor learning studies with my cohort, Chelsea Corley, who's one of my teachers, who studied at Columbia University Teachers College and has her master's degree in motor learning theory. And without geeking out too much, that's called contextual interference. So when you take the client into a different environment, suddenly their brain and their bodies have to work that much harder and have to problem solve that much more. And they're not on autopilot, which often happens, at least I see it a lot in the studio. They're like, okay, I'm doing my 100, I'm doing my roll up, I'm doing my ab series, kind of just going through the motions. But take them into a different environment, put them on something different like the mat versus what they're normally on at the studio. And suddenly they have to figure it out a little more for themselves. And through doing that, they get a lot stronger.
Oh, that's amazing. I think that's a perfect place to end. So Tara and I are usually on the gram, hanging out, sending memes. Feel free to join us. We're also available for virtual stuff and meeting, training, whatever, Pilates, yoga, and I feel like we got everything in.
I think so too. I do want to just finish by saying Pilates is for everybody, all ages, all genders, no matter what you've been through in your life. So don't be afraid to try it out. It's not as intimidating as it looks.
Yeah. And that you've worked with like such a vast population of like a different type of person, all, throughout the days and throughout the weeks and throughout the years, that you can say that with absolute confidence, that it is really for every type of body and age range and whatnot. So thank you for sharing that with my fabulous podcast audience and for opening my eyes to so much with Pilates and really showing me that my body can do some weird shit that I never thought it could.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me and for letting me teach you through all these years. I've learned so much from teaching you and everyone else too.
Awesome. Okay. Hey guys, thanks so much for being here for this episode. Super special, obviously. If you want to get in touch with me on Instagram, impact_your_fitness. If you want to reach Tara, she's at TaraRose224 on Instagram. You can schedule with her through my business's website, impactyourfitness.net. And if you would love to support the show, I will gladly accept any glowing reviews on iTunes. And please subscribe. That makes sure you're getting all the juicy stuff on Think Fit Be Fit podcast. Or you can support the podcast by checking out Ruvi, R-U-V-I. It's a high-performance drink that is just fruits and vegetables and nothing else. It really speaks for itself. No additives, no sugar, no gluten, none of that crap. And it has all the fiber because it's just freeze-dried. So your first order comes with a free shaker bottle. Go to impactyourfitness.thrivelife.com/Ruvi. That link is in the show notes, of course. And I look forward to blowing your mind this May. Have a great day.